Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026 regular business meeting of the Olympia City Council. For the record, we have a quorum with Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen excused and Councilmember Gilman joining us via Teams tonight. Councilmember Gilman, can you hear us? Great, and we can hear you. Okay. So with that, I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of the agenda as published signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have an agenda. So our first item tonight is a special recognition proclamation recognizing LGBTQIA2S+ Pride Month and Capital City Pride Weekend. And we have a shared reading of the proclamation beginning with Councilmember Madrone.
Whereas the month of June was designated Pride Month to commemorate the Stonewall Riots of June 1969, an act of resistance against police brutality and oppression, and a pivotal moment in the ongoing struggle for LGBTQIA2S+ civil rights. And whereas Pride is both a celebration of resilience and joy in LGBTQIA2S+ communities, and a reminder that the fight for full equality is far from over. And
whereas across the country, there has been an alarming and unprecedented surge in legislation targeting LGBTQIA2S+ people, especially transgender, non-binary, and gender-expansive individuals, seeking to restrict access to healthcare, limit expression, and erode fundamental human rights. And whereas, in the face of these attacks, it is imperative for local and state governments to not only celebrate the diversity in our community, but to actively safeguard the dignity, rights, and safety of LGBTQIA2S+ individuals. And
whereas Washington State continues to advance protections for LGBTQIA2S+ communities, building on Governor Jay Inslee's 2024 Inclusive Education Bill with significant 2025 legislation under Governor Bob Ferguson. This includes expanding access to gender-affirming care, aligning parental rights with non-discrimination laws, improving access to hormone therapy, and streamlining gender marker changes on official documents. And whereas the City of Olympia proudly affirms that love is love, trans rights are human rights, and that everyone deserves to live free from fear, discrimination, and violence, regardless of their sexual orientation, their gender identity, or gender expression. And
whereas in 2025, the Olympia City Council adopted resolution number M-2591, officially declaring Olympia a sanctuary city for LGBTQIA2S+ individuals. This resolution strengthens protections, affirms the rights to gender-affirming care and expression, and commits the city to opposing discrimination in all forms. And whereas Olympia has been honored to serve as the host city for the first Olympia Pride, later renamed Capital City Pride, and every Pride since, and
whereas in 2026, Capital City Pride celebrates its 35th anniversary, continuing to uplift and empower our community, creating spaces that celebrate the joy, resilience, and unity of the LGBTQIA2S+ people. The three-day celebration produces more than 10 empowering stages for performances, all led by queer, Black, Indigenous, people of color, community, women, and reflecting its growing impact and deepening commitment to inclusivity, health, accessibility, and community connection. And whereas the City of Olympia honors and celebrates the contributions, creativity, and resilience of the LGBTQIA2S+ community, and recommits to being a welcoming, inclusive, and just city for all. And
now, therefore, be it resolved that the Olympia City Council does hereby proclaim June 2026 as LGBTQIA2S+ Pride Month, and June 26th, 27th, and 28th as Capital City Pride Weekend in the City of Olympia, and reaffirms the city's unwavering commitment to protecting and uplifting LGBTQIA2S+ communities and standing resolutely against hate in all its forms. Signed in the city of Olympia, Washington, the 2nd day of June, 2026, Olympia City Council, Dante Payne, Mayor. All right, thank you very much, council members. Now I'd like to invite up Natalie Koblenz, who is the president of Capital City Pride, to the podium for some remarks. Hi, Natalie. Yep.
Okay, hello, test 1, 2, 3. Cool, thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. Your words pretty much said everything that was in our hearts, and we're just so grateful and so full of joy to be here. As you know, we couldn't be here doing these things, volunteering our time, volunteering our year to be able to put together these wonderful shows and these wonderful weekends for the city and for you all, if it wasn't for the love and appreciation and the acceptance that the city of Olympia gives to us. So thank you so much for doing that. And I wanted to let you know, Capital City Pride obviously loves doing this weekend. We also do our annual events monthly. And so we have workshops that we've been working on. We have collaborations that we've been working on. We're doing so much in the community that it's almost gotten a little bit hard, but we still continue to collaborate and we still continue to grow with other nonprofits, and we love being here in presence for you. And so to tell you a little bit about what's happening, I can pass some of these around if you want. Here you go. These right here, you might see them popped up around the town. They're what's happening in Olympia. For Friday, the block party, we have Luna Delight. Actually, raise your hand. Luna Delight volunteers their time to put together this lovely showcase for you. It starts at 4:30 and it goes until 9. And there's features of Gordon Bier, AKA Carney Cavalier, D'Angelo, Bashful, Liv Lewis, and much, much more. You can get games. There's tons of dancing, love. It's in the city by 5th and Water. It's the only block party that we have, and it kicks off the Pride celebration. And then in the evening, we have ticketed events, too, that'll all be happening at Wild Child. We have a Pride Soiree, that's a drag burlesque entertainment show that'll be happening that evening. And then Saturday's the biggest day, right? We have the Music and Art Festival that'll be from 10 to 6. And this year, I'm really excited because we added a stage. We added one more stage to our Saturday event. So not only will we have the Port Plaza community stage, we have the Percival Landing that's all full of bands and live music. We started a Latin stage. And so we're really excited about that. That's going to be taking place in the streets, a little bit down from Oli Tap Room. And we'll have DJs, dance, and some queer two-stepping. So some fun things that'll be happening on Saturday day are we have the symphony is going to come, right? And so what we've decided and what we've been happening at the Port Plaza Community Tower is that there's several nonprofits that need the space, and they're combining their situation with us so that the Olympia Symphony can do their free music in the park, Bridge Music Project can do their free dance battle, and there's also a community wedding that's going to take place. And so the symphony got together with me and we decided that the symphony is going to do their hour of their concert, all Pride themed music, and then they're going to spin off and do the wedding song for the wedding. So if you want to get married, this year is the best year to do it. It's free, it's for everyone, and it's a group LGBTQIA2+ wedding. It'll be happening at the Port Plaza stage. We have a bunch of bands like Trash Go-Kart, Panda, Black Ends, Erica Free, Beautiful Freaks, Sarah Berner, and so much more. And then that's all happening in that 10 to 6 p.m. time, and that's free for everyone to come. We also have 170 booths. We have a healthcare area that's going to be happening. We'll have HIV testing. We'll have a whole bunch of other free clinical testing for you to be available, and also education and over like 80 resources for the LGBTQ community. And again, this is all free for the community. And then in the evening, there's the Pride Variety Show that'll be at the Capitol Theater. And that's going to be from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. That's Latina K. Turner DeHoe. And they'll be leading that with Sneaky Boo, Dr. Tabby Katz, Fozzie Gayer, and a whole bunch of other really funny folks. So that's comedy and burlesque. And it's really nice if you want to sneak in, sit down, be at a dark theater, and watch a show. And then later that evening, there's the Pride's dance floor, which is always fun. It's like a rotating door. You can come in for a low cost, and it's DJ La Savant, and they'll just be playing music all night long. And we all know we love to dance, so that's a really good one to go to. And then on Sunday, we have the rally, parade, and march. And that is the pre-staging location takes place at Tivoli Park. It goes up Capitol, and then it turns left on Legion, and it settles in Heritage Park, where we have Dyke Day in the park, which is slowly growing, but that's where we're putting most of our love. And one of the cool things about the parade this year, not only will you all be in it, and I'm sure you all will too, but we want to do more art. We always listen to the community, and what they said was, we need more art in the parade. You know, we don't want to just sit there and watch people walking by. So I was like, okay, cool, let me see what I can do. So we built these wooden carts that are very small, but we built them, and we built 5 of them, and people submitted applications with art ideas and dreams. And so there'll be 5 carts being walked down the parade, and you can vote on your favorite cart, and the winner gets $500. The carts are already gone, but hopefully this will start a whole art collective of art floats and car floats for the Pride Parade, because that's where we want to go crazy big. And so after the parade, as you know, we go into Dyke Day, which is really fun. There's food vendors, and it's a bunch of DJs, and you just bring a picnic, camp out, and relax and lay out in the park with us and dip your toes into the grass and, you know, just hang out. And so that's a really big community building event. And then after we all relax, then we go over to Wild Child again, where they'll be queerly hilarious, and we have comedians such as Forrest Embers, Georgia Chantrell, Nathan Honey, and John Joe Sanchez III. So that's the weekend. It's over 250 artists, like I said, 170 booths, and we volunteer our time to put this together for you all. So I really hope you appreciate it and that you'll come to these shows. This is really our one and only time that we do such a grand event, and all of the monthly parties that we have are the times that we take to train people to get to this moment here. So this is the big hurrah of the annual year. And if I may provide these for you, may I walk up there?
Sure. Thank you so much, Natalie. I have the proclamation here signed and ready to present to you in a moment. But first, I'm going to see if there are any comments from council members. Councilmember Madron.
Was last year the first year you did the group wedding?
The last year was, yeah, it was requested again.
How many people took you up on it?
Only 2 couples.
Well, that's 2. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say thank you for all your work. You're here every year, and you show such enthusiasm and love for the community. And I appreciate that you recognize that the mayor has some wicked dance skills,
Yes.
And will be joining you for that 2-step.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing you that weekend.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, additional comments. Councilmember Barrett.
Thank you, Mayor. Hey, thank you for all that you're doing. I went to the parade last year, and I just thought it was a fabulous event, and all of the displays and whatnot downtown were fabulous. I think this is more poignant than ever because of the attacks that the trans community in particular are under with the initiatives that are before the ballot, and raising awareness on how we can support particularly this community within the LGBTQ plus community is essential, and I think this event is more important than ever. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Additional comments? And will you please let me know if Councilmember Gilman has his hand raised? I can't see him. All right. Seeing none. So first of all, Natalie, thank you so much. Well, this is, I think, fitting as seems like our Pride Festival is like on steroids or something this year. It's like
Yeah.
huge, it sounds like. And thank you so much for your leadership. The festival is growing. I remember the days before COVID where we had a bigger festival. And we're making a comeback. And I think that's thanks to you and all of the folks that are a part of your team that helps put on Capital City Pride. I hope everybody knows how much work goes into putting on an event like this. I think for most of us in the community, we just show up and enjoy it, and that's thanks to the work of you and so many other people. I see Olympia Salazar-Debro in the back. Yes. Yes. And it really is, and Eva, thank you so much. It's really just, it's wonderful to have people who are willing to step up and put on this kind of celebration. And I have to say, at a time like this, where our nation seems to be going backwards, we are sending a loud, resounding roar that we're going forward. And I think that is very clear in everything that you just described. I can't wait to actually experience it and be in it with you, two-stepping with you. Yes, because right now these are very difficult times for so many of us in the LGBTQ plus community, and we have to dance through it anyway, even when it's really hard. And so I have to tell you that it's a huge honor to be serving as this city's first openly gay mayor at a time like this. Yeah. It's a huge honor. So I want to thank you. I want to thank the Olympia community. Happy Pride, happy Capital City Pride weekend. I'm looking forward to it. And now I'm going to present you with the proclamation. We're going to open these stanchions up down here so that folks can come forward to take a photo. And yeah, come on up if you wish to participate. All right. Thank you both so much again, Natalie and Eva Koblenz, and thank you to Olympia Salazar-Debro. All right. So we're going to go ahead and continue on with the rest of our agenda. That concludes our special recognition for the evening. So we're going to move on to public comment. We have just a few folks who are signed up here in person. Just a few housekeeping rules before we get started. There is a clock to my right, your left here on the wall that will indicate that you have 2 minutes of time for your comments. There is a box here on the podium with green, yellow, and red lights. The green light indicates that your time has begun. The yellow light, and you'll hear a ding. That means that you have about 30 seconds remaining in your comments, and the red light indicates that your time has expired. If you have not finished your comments in the 2 minutes of time, feel free to email the council. Also, we are in an election season, so I just ask that you please refrain from expressing your support or opposition to a candidate or ballot measure. So with that, I'm going to call forward the first person on my list here, Brian Dixon, followed by Terry Ballard.
How you doing?
Hello.
Brian Dixon is my name. And I just want to ask, like, how long we got to slave to the system before we actually, I know this is a broad statement, how long we got to slave to the system before we actually get the proper help we need, like assistance as far as housing, gas, and food, like far as wraparound service, because you have, of course, the governor, of course, he get wraparound service, you know, and the police, they get the rider, they have the like the little cat cars and the gas cars to ride around on the taxpayers. We've been slaving for America for the longest. Like, I'm 38 and I've been working since I was 18. I just want to know, like, how long we got to slave to the system? Because this is ridiculous. Nobody is being treated equally. Everybody getting discriminated upon. Gas prices is going up. Food prices is going up, and nothing is continuing to change. It's like I try to speak to the senator. Nobody answered the phone at the senator office. The governor, I can't speak to him, even though I go down there, and nobody want to give me no type of information. I just want like some answers, because it's like people like the governors, the mayors, the senators can be able to ride around, take trips to Washington, D.C., while we just sit here. People be hungry. People have gas, like people sleeping in their cars, people sleeping out like outside. Nobody should be able to do that. But y'all, as the representatives, the mayors, the city councils or somebody, y'all can just sit here and do whatever y'all want. And I don't know, I know it's somebody behind, like you got Black Rock, State Street, and Vanguard that's pulling a lot of strings. I know that it went off, but
Thank you, Mr. Dixon.
is not equal. Excuse me, sir.
Your time has expired.
No, we should be able to.
No, Mr.
like,
Dixon,
speak.
your time has expired.
2 minutes. Like, y'all get to speak about anything that y'all want to. But
Mr.
it's
Dixon,
but it's
your
like
time
no
is
problems. I
expired.
don't want no problem. We should be able to get treated with dignity and respect. Y'all don't care
Mr.
nothing
Dixon,
about the people.
your time has
I
expired.
respect that. I understand.
There are
I
other
respect
community
you.
members that are waiting to speak, sir.
And y'all have much time. Y'all close at 4 o'clock, which y'all should close at 5. We working from 9 to
Your
5,
time is
slaving to
expired.
go home to our families. So I hope y'all going home and sleep good at night, because I know
Your time is expired,
the
sir.
Pentagon, the White House is running a lot of these things. So, I mean, I appreciate what y'all don't do, but I hope y'all sleep well at night.
All right, Terry Ballard, followed by Victoria Harmon.
My name's Terry Ballard. I'm the owner of 2402 Morris, M-O-R-S-E Road, Southeast in Olympia, Washington, one of the last 5-acre properties left. I could read RCW 4.96.010 for liability of damages and government responsibilities, but I'll pass on that. And also what you have is this right here, which I've already produced through your city on 28 May 2026, and I suggest you look at that, and also produced it through the Department of Ecology on 29 May 2026. A lot of challenges there, and the city of Olympia is responsible. What I came in here today is to talk about a document that was submitted to the city of Olympia way back in September 14th and 19th of 2018. Mr. Gilman was still here at that time. What it outlines to the city in emails and documents and correspondence is the $143 million $143 million that you owe stormwater. And everybody is charged stormwater. You owe stormwater $143 million. That's my next operation to the Department of Ecology, which the EPA owns stormwater. Department of Ecology has a 5-year permit on it, and he gives it out to the municipalities for that permit. I hope you're happy that you never bought the property and you're responsible for millions of dollars of cleanup. I suggest you look into it, please, because I've been here and spoken to it before. Thank you.
Thank you. Victoria Harmon, followed by Molly O'Neill.
Hello, everyone. My name is Victoria Harmon. I'm the library manager for the Olympia and West Olympia Library. Summer is here at the library. Summer program runs from June 1st through August 31st. Anyone can sign up for our summer library program. Just for signing up, you'll receive a free book to keep. And then also SLP bingo sheets. They kind of look like this. They're very fun. There's one for each age group. And there are 4 versions. And after you complete 1 row of activities on your summer reading bingo, come back to the library to receive a completion certificate for all ages and a free ticket to Northwest Trek Wildlife Park or Point Defiance Zoo and Aquarium, or a free ticket to Tacoma Rainiers games scheduled for August 25th through 27th. We also have a great lineup of programs and events. Reptile Lady is coming back. Very excited for that. If you want to hold a snake, this is the program for you. And lots of fun performances. We'll have ventriloquists and so many activities and art programs. So I would like to invite you all to the library this summer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Molly O'Neill, followed by David Webb.
Hi, my name is Molly O'Neill. First, I want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen for responding to me last week. I see she's not here, unfortunately. Hopefully she gets to see my comments later. I want to recognize that I am speaking about this issue as a white woman. I do not fully understand, but can imagine the razor-thin balance the Black and brown leaders must maintain in a majority white population. I have compassion for all of the people involved in this controversy, but this has gone far past the initial conversation that set this off. The response by the city to Mr. Byrd's grievance is what is at hand, not specifically whether or not racism occurred in that initial conversation. That question should have been investigated by the city 2 years ago. How racism shows up on the left is often more subtle and literally unseen by the people causing it, and the people naming it are often attacked or silenced. Mr. Byrd was dismissed and then silenced for 2 years, then attacked and silenced at the Black History Proclamation as he spoke passionately about historical and systemic racism. That attack and silencing was then extended to a Black-led group in town that had offered accountability mediation and education opportunities for the council. The Juneteenth funding and sponsorship has now been offered to an Asian-led organization, not in Olympia, for a commemoration celebration about an African-American experience. This looks and smells like retaliation, and you have not given us an alternative explanation with your lack of transparency about this decision. What this entire situation has made clear is the need for change in the procedures and policies in how the Olympia City Council addresses grievances specifically about racism. We want the following changes to take place as previously offered in the formal accountability letter: formal acknowledgement and repair of harm, explicit city-funded initiative addressing anti-Black racism, mandatory anti-Black racism training for city leadership and staff, and protections against retaliatory
Thank you, Molly.
procedural authority. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, David Webb, followed by Sean Bird.
Procedural retaliation is an important concern. David Webb, City of Olympia, you may start my time now. First and foremost, don't worry, Mr. Mayor, I will remove that camera when I'm done speaking. I will save that power struggle for another day. Thank you for adding the David Webb lines. I appreciate clear rules rather than letting the mayor or police make up everything as they go, especially when they just try to assert authority instead of ever solving anything. On that note, thanks for being openly gay, but you didn't support workers' rights, and you don't support affordable housing, and you stand against actual police oversight, pretending the process we have now is even remotely sufficient when they routinely harass unhoused people and many other demographics, and focus on neighborhood aesthetics instead of upholding your claimed values. And so you don't actually support the people who you claim to. I like how the first speaker said it. I appreciate what you don't do. Thanks. A proclamation supporting freedom of expression and human rights, while Assistant City Manager Debbie Sullivan does everything in her power to take away housing from so many people, is kind of abhorrible. The city claims to be a trans sanctuary, but can't offer affordable housing or reliable jobs for people who are getting here, refugees from places that you claim to be different than. They're still subject to discrimination, bullying, and harassment from cops. There has still been no accountability for the murder of Timothy Green, and the so-called oversight presentation last week called for better record keeping, outlining issues in both the ways the incidents are logged as well as the ways they're investigated. The trans community in this city is wonderful, but this city is not wonderful to trans people. The city staff may be friendly, its structure is not, its systems are not. The city is safe for wealthy queer people, for rich gays with white families, not for the people it is marketing itself to. And the disconnect maintained by the people in this room, literally silencing Black voices, kind of make that make sense. And it's sad, and it would be nice if this body could represent change and hold itself accountable.
Sean Bird, followed by Donnell Lombard.
I guess the thing that's been the most present in my mind was recently there was, and I don't really have an action that I necessarily need you to take, but there was a man holding a Holocaust denial sign that was kind of wandering around the Capitol, and there was a group of school children who were on a field trip that he was harassing. There were people taking pictures that he was standing in the line of the photos, and I know that, you know, we have the First Amendment and people can do that, but it just made me think that there's also like a need for safety, you know, and that the people of this community, especially the Jewish people, you know, but really anyone, the Holocaust affected a lot of different, you know, diverse groups. And there's a lot of, like, that was a real event. And there are survivors and people who have descended from them. And that, I don't know, I just feel like there has to be some sort of a, I felt like the people at the Capitol were very hands-off about it. And I do understand that, like, you know, people can say what they want, but I guess I really don't know it was just something that happened recently on public property, and I guess I just felt like sharing. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Donnell Lombard.
Hello, good evening. Thank you very much for letting me speak in front of you tonight. I come because after being so grateful that I live in such a wonderful community with some issues like everywhere, I'm running across that we are coming across another issue, and that is what I think is going to be labeled as the second home loss people. I have friends and family that got their hours cut, lost a job, couldn't afford rent, did the best they could. Now they're in an RV, the parking services, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that we as a city could come up with a solution where it could be a property owner who has it on their property with like a permit for 6 months, extended as long as everything is within a check. Because now, because neighbors made a complaint, my friends now have to move their trailer and have nowhere to go. I reached out to parking, I've reached out to each one of you, and yeah, 3 weeks ago there was this program, but now it's too late, and the resources out there are not helpful unless if you are this or this or this, but if you are just in a bad situation, there isn't anything. And I just want you guys to be aware that this is probably going to happen. And I'm very sad that our community can't come together with some compassion and understanding that stereotypes are just that, stereotypes. And we have to learn to break those. And this is one of those that's coming. And it's hitting me personally now. So I just need you to think. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, that concludes our list for public comment for tonight. Are there any comments from the council? Councilmember Barrett, followed by Councilmember Vanderpool.
Yeah, I have two comments. Regarding Sean Bird. Yeah, thank you. I just want to address your concern. The state capitol campus is kind of is like the Vatican. It's its own government. The city doesn't really have jurisdiction over what happens there. The Washington State Patrol is in charge of security on the Capitol campus. I just want to raise that. There are interjurisdictional agreements and whatnot, but that's what you said is a very serious issue, and I'm happy to say that I'd be happy to just reach out to people I know at the campus to express that you raised this issue, and I will do that. But we don't need to go on, but I just wanted you to know this. And I was really happy to see Donnell. I've known Donnell for 40 years. Yeah. And it's great to see you. Thank you. I have a lot to learn about all of these policies. I did reach out to the city manager and ask, do we have a place where people can go park in the city? And we don't really. And so this needs to be an ongoing issue of kind of figuring out what it is we can do with people who are, living in their cars. I do believe parking needs to be regulated. I want to make that really clear. We can't just park any place and let people park, any place they wish. But I just really want to be solution oriented on this. I don't know the answer, but I will not turn my back on your concern. Thank you.
No, I'm sorry. Public comment is closed. Thank you. Councilmember Vanderpool.
A couple items. So I also agree we have to figure out something. This is not the first time we've had folks come in just the last few months around the issue of mobile homes, RVs, vans, so on and so forth. And you're not the first person who's told me that there needs to be a way to create a permit between the property owner and the right-of-way, right? From across from it, like if there's an agreement between the two, there we could, whatever that extended time. So I have a lot of interest in that too, as a top policy. Yeah, please CC me in that. And then to Mr. Dixon, who I think he left, but economic justice is probably one of the hardest hills to climb for elected officials. It is not easy, particularly on the local level, to think of the undoing of the long history of this country and economic injustice. I mean, I consider housing a human right. I consider a lot of those protections he was talking about human needs, and I understand the stress of trying to reach out to people in higher government and how difficult it is. And so if he does watch this later, I want him to understand that most of us understand that stress and anxiety, especially right now. So, thank you.
Thank you. Additional comments? All right, and just checking on Councilmember Gilman. We're good? Okay. All right. Thank you. Well, both council members spoke to the things that I really wanted to speak to, so thank you. I will also just, I'm sitting up here thinking whether or not there's something that needs to be said about this or not, but I'm going to speak on it because I'm tired of hearing it, frankly, which is this insinuation about the race of my family. This is not acceptable for people to come up here to this podium and talk about me having a white family as if there is something wrong with that. So I am going to speak to this because it is a problem. Just like it would be a problem if anyone else spoke to the race of any other race or ethnic background. It is wrong. So please stop it. You have a right to your free speech, but it is frankly despicable. And each time I hear it, I just cringe inside and I think, where are we as a community if we need to target each other based on the color of our skin and make comments that we think is acceptable because we're talking about people that are white, and frankly, my family. And I'll just state for the record as well that I was born black, I'm gonna die black. I've been black for years before I became the mayor, and I did not forget because I became the mayor. So please stop. All right, so with that, we're gonna move on. That is it for public comment for tonight. So I do have a few items here on consent calendar that are requested for pull. The first is excuse me, yes, thank you. So I have a motion and a second for the consent calendar adoption, please.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those, excuse me, are there, sorry, I'm a little peeved right now, I'm very, yeah. So, okay, so I have a request for pulling item 4B as well as item 4F. So we're gonna begin with item 4B, which is the approval of a resolution authorizing amendment number 1 to the option to purchase real estate agreement for the real property located at 3126 Pacific Avenue Southeast, also known as the Jungle Encampment. And we have our Assistant City Manager, Stacy Ray, to speak to this item. Hi, Stacy.
Hi. For the record, Stacy Ray, Assistant City Manager. So the real estate agreement before you tonight is to help continue to address the homeless encampment known as the Jungle. The encampment's located on approximately 20 acres between Martin Way and Pacific Avenue. The largest parcel that makes up the encampment is 16 acres and privately owned. The option to purchase agreement allows us to access the site to work with the individuals who've been residing in the encampment to try to get them housed. The agreement gives us access to the site to regularly set up a regular system for the removal of the buildup of garbage. That's both to address the health issues of having solid waste on the site and also for those adjacent to the property who are experiencing issues with air quality from the burning of garbage. So having the agreement in place also leaves all options on the table for potential future use of the property.
Thank you very much, Stacy. All right, so that takes us to the request for item 4F on our agenda, which is, excuse me, the approval of the ordinance amending ordinance 7454, the first quarter budget amendment, which was requested for pull by Councilmember Barrett.
Thank you. I just had some questions about this. One, it's a $3 million budget amendment, all of this. If we had that size of an amendment every quarter for this year, we'd be looking at a 10% increase in our budget. And what I really thought about this was, this should really go through the Finance Committee for a full review. I looked at the outline. I mean, I understand what it is, but I do think, in a fiduciary sense, we go through this deep budget process in working up budgets, and then 6 months later, at the end of in June, we're amending a pretty substantial budget item, and so I just think in an oversight sense that this should be looked at the council. I suspect that it would come back and we would approve it, but I believe that the council owes it to the city and its citizens to look at these items. There are certain things within it that I've learned and I'm not particularly too crazy about. Some are budget items that aren't necessarily directly related to this business item, but we learned this week, for instance, that of the sale for the old City Hall property, essentially most of that money has been used to for the shutdown and moving of the property that's taken place, and that in fact it will cost quite a bit more than what we sold that property for to do the shutdown of the property. So these are just things that I think are important for the Finance Committee to really do some diving into. And so that is why I wanted to pull this. I think that in regards to the sale of the City Hall property, I think many people in our community really thought there would be a premium that could be used for roads, parks, housing, sidewalks, one thing or another. That, but those funds pretty much are fully being used for the moving of that property and the shutdown of it. One concern I have particular is the Japanese garden. $350,000 has been allocated to the Japanese garden. We're not going to have a new Japanese garden for $350,000. It's just that is really clear to me. And so, anyway, I guess the bottom line is, and I don't know if now is the time to do this, but I'd like to make a motion that 4F be re-referred to the Finance Committee for a real thorough review to make sure that the budgeting process we passed last year is really being honored, and this isn't kind of a workaround.
Okay, so is that your motion?
I would like to make that motion, yes.
Is there a second for this motion? Well, there has to be a second before there can be discussion. Yes.
I'm just getting stuck up on the fact that we have an open motion on the floor that's not voted on. So is an amendment that's needed?
Right.
I couldn't hear you. The speaker doesn't work down here.
So there is a motion and a second on the floor to adopt the consent calendar as published.
Mm-hmm.
So if you would like to make an amendment to
I guess I would like to amend that to pull item 4 F off and be re-referred to the Finance Committee. Is that the correct motion?
So we have a motion and a second to adopt the consent calendar as it is published, which means it includes item 4F.
And-
So if you
I
would like to remove it,
am I'm moving an amendment to remove item 4F and be re-referred to the Finance Committee.
okay. So whoever made the previous motion needs you to withdraw that motion, and we'll need to take another motion.
No, I think my motion is in order. I don't know.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, if there's a second to the amendment, you can proceed in the conversation on the amendment, take a vote on the amendment, and then return to your original motion.
Okay. Thank you.
If there's a second.
Is there a second? And again, please let me know if Councilmember Gilman is seconding. Don't see or hear a second, so that motion fails. So if it fails, Councilmember Barrett, you reserve the right either to vote against the consent calendar if you wish to do so, because it will be included in this vote.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Okay. Yes, Councilmember Madron.
Just a couple general discussion points here. As Councilmember Barrett, my lack of a second there isn't out of not having interest. It's more just being caught off guard, not knowing what the timeline is for making this decision when Finance Committee meets next, and I'd be curious to hear from the Finance Chair in terms of, what it could look like to incorporate something like that before I, just support something to send it to them. So I'm interested in what you have to say, and I think that some more conversation could help clarify some of that. I also had a question for the Assistant City Manager on the item 4B. I'm curious, when we initially purchased did the agreement around the what is it called? The option to purchase. We had an idea in place of something that we could do with that land if one day we were to be able to purchase it. That grant application fell through, and right now we don't really have any intent to buy at any point, do we?
Yeah, so you're remembering correctly. We did at the time have, potential to apply for a grant, and that grant, we were not successful in that application. So at this point, we are putting the option in place so that we can leave, all options on the table. We want to be able to explore if an opportunity comes about, but there's not something underway at this time.
Okay. And so having this option in place maintains our ability to access the property.
That's correct.
Okay, and without this agreement in place, we may not have the ability to access the property to move forward on all the things that we're planning for that area.
It makes it very difficult, and it's almost, needs to be addressed on a case-by-case basis. So this is where we can upfront be in agreement with the property owner about what needs to happen on the property.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to reaffirm my memory around it and just make sure that it's, clear why we have this on the agenda this evening. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Madron. That's, I think, clarity that everyone needs to hear, public at large. So, yes, Councilmember Green.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Barron, I just wanted to address my choice to not second, and I certainly appreciate the sentiment behind your ask, and certainly recognize that in finance we're able to have a lot more in-depth conversations, and so I think sometimes I forget what I hear in those meetings that doesn't always eventually filter to here. But I do just want to make one sort of comment on it as well, which is just, when I look at Exhibit B that's shared with us here, while there is a piece that to me is impactful to, the general fund, which is primarily what we vote, a lot of these are in special funds, it's only about 700,000 of that is part of that, you know, when I look down this list of these amendment requests and it's funding that's coming specifically from LTAC or funding that's coming from the Tumwater Cares IL, like, to me, I just look at it differently than like just one broad request. And so that if we did this every quarter for a year, it would be 10%. I feel like that's a bigger statement than how I read this. So that was, for me, that was why I didn't second, is I feel like there's, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all.
Councilmember Barron.
I would like to ask the city manager a question. When we raise the B&O tax, how much revenue are we anticipating in increased revenue for this coming year from the increase of the B&O tax that was administered last year?
Boy, I don't have the number right off the top of my head. I can do a little homework here and get it for you in a minute. It's just not right on the top of my tongue.
And the reason I asked this question is I just kind of wanted to put it in context to the $3 million. And I'm sorry, but on Exhibit A, it's, you know, I don't know. In Exhibit A, it's $3 million. And so there may be a lot of different funds, but the council adopted these budgets. And $3 million against 121 million, you know, if we have a similar adjustment every quarter this year, it will be 10% of the budget. So, so anyway, these fiscal issues are really important. And one of the things I believe that the Finance Committee should consider any larger adjustment to the budget. It should always be considered by the Finance Committee as a matter of pro forma, that it shouldn't be, you know, Councilwoman Madrone is right. She's kind of surprised, but I was surprised too. You know, I opened this up and suddenly, wow, you know, this is quite a bit. And so I just think it's good in a fiduciary sense. I think it's good in a transparency sense to the public. The public likes to see this. And that we shouldn't be passing a $3 million change in the consent calendar, you know, when it really hasn't had a transparent look. So I would like to ask my colleagues to reconsider how we go about these. That I don't believe they should just show up on the calendar without some review. And while Councilwoman Green, I agree, you know, certain items of this are nothing, but there's some pretty big numbers here. And really, the council has not debated these numbers, and they didn't do it in the budget process either. And that is why I think there should be an airing of these items as a matter of practice, I don't care, I don't want to, I think this is far more important than anything on the work plan of the Finance Committee, is confidence in the fiscal health of the city, and that we are really watching. And we've seen other agencies where people aren't watching closely enough and they have problems. And I just always want to build the confidence of our public in our process.
All right, thank you. Yes. Yes, one moment. Councilmember Vanderpool, followed by Councilmember Gilman.
I'm going to be really short with this. I like the spirit of deeper council involvement in things. I really do. I mean, all the time about specific niche things that drive everyone crazy if I talked about it all night. But, you know, I will say the reason why I didn't second is because I get nervous about delaying out financial responsibilities, but I do understand why you would want things like this to be more in the committee assignment deeper into it. So that said, I think I'll just, I see that, I know the city manager had a response, and I know the chair of finance had a response, so I'll just leave it up to the mayor to decide who to go next.
How generous of you. Councilmember Gilman.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. I just wanted to offer that I have had these budget adjustments explained. I I believe that they're part of that it, I don't see it as simply a $3 million increase, but I see it as part of a shuffle of money in and out across the year where, anyhow, so I'm comfortable with that. And I wanted to offer to Councilmember Barrett that I would be glad to sit down with you, council member, and with finance staff to discuss both this first quarter budget amendment and also the proceeds from the Plum Street City Hall property and the planned expenses to continue the functions that are there. So they're important issues you're raising, although I don't see this budget amendment in the same way.
Thank you. Any additional comments? City Manager Bernie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things here. One is we're going to dive into the Plum Street stuff as part of your study session next week. So when I was at Finance Committee and talked about the proceeds versus kind of what we spent and kind of the impacts on year end, there was a question raised by the committee about can we kind of get a full accounting of that. So we're going to do that next week in your study session as part of your year end conversation. I'm going to bring that forward to you. So we'll have that conversation. And just one comment I wanted to make around stuff that are on your first quarter budget amendments. One is they're here in front of you because we want to be transparent so that there's no accounting that goes on behind the scenes that the council doesn't approve and doesn't see. And if you dig deep on these, and Councilmember Barron, I'm happy to dig deep with you on any one of these that you want to. I'm here for that. Some of them are, for example, just look at the top, Artesian Commons. It's money that you approved in last year's budget. It just didn't get spent last year, it got rolled over. And so to roll it over as part of a carryover request, it moves forward. So it's an item that council previously approved the funding for. We're just moving it forward to a new year. If you look down the list of the amendment requests, a lot of the funding amendments that are grants or agreements with other jurisdictions, majority of those have come before you as consent items in the past. You've already approved them as individual consent items. And then what happens is the Finance Committee once a quarter packages them all up and you see them in one place. But individually, 9 times out of 10, you've seen them already as a consent item on your calendar in the past as an individual item. So I just wanted to point that out as well. So again, I'm happy to, at any point in time with any council member, to dig into what's here and talk more with what's here, but I just wanted to make a couple comments there.
Thanks, Jay. All right. So we have a motion and a second to adopt the consent calendar as published.
Just one other thing. I do want to say, not all the items in this budget have been passed in previous consent calendars, have they?
I believe a majority of them have been your way.
Not all of them have been passed in previous consent calendars.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, and Councilmember Barrett, I would appreciate if you would wait until I call on you. Yes. There is a motion and a second on the floor to adopt the consent calendar as published. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
All right. Motion passes. Consent calendar is adopted. All right, so that takes us to our first business item on the agenda, which is item 6A, which is the approval of an ordinance extending a declaration of public health emergency related to insufficient supply of affordable housing. And we have Jacinda Stelches, who is our housing manager, who is presenting tonight. And she's making her way to the podium. Hi, Jacinda.
All right.
For the record, again, Jacinda Stelchis, Housing Manager. So we have, you all have, this afternoon, sorry y'all, I'm looking at our little clicker. I don't think I've used this clicker, so hopefully I'm clicking through correctly. So we have an emergency declaration. This was passed, there we go, it does work. This was passed last year, the original declaration, December of 2024. You all adopted Ordinance 7414. So this declares an insufficient supply of affordable housing, a public health emergency. The declaration responded to calls from local nonprofits that approached staff, and I think some of you as well, with asks to make it easier to develop affordable housing for our community. It acknowledges that a little bit more than 14,000 new housing units are projected to be needed by 2045 to meet the projected population growth. Of that little bit more than 14,000, about half of those are projected to be needed for low-income households. And lastly, the declaration recognizes that about 7,300 Olympia households are housing cost burdened. So that means they are spending more than 30% of their household income on housing expenses. So this declaration established 6 strategies to help increase affordable housing by decreasing the cost to essentially build affordable housing. Priority in permitting, this means that affordable housing projects coming into our permitting process are prioritized in the queue. Our permitting staff is available to help problem solve. I think many of you know that many affordable housing projects are occurring or trying to occur on land that can be very difficult to develop. So our planners are available to help problem solve and find ways for developers to develop that land into affordable housing. Our third strategy gives the city manager an ability to defer or waive city requirements for affordable housing projects. The original ordinance established a permit fee grant. It also established an infrastructure assistance grant. And then our last strategy there is a 1033 tax exchange transaction. So this would be a transaction in which a willing property owner of affordable housing is, for one reason or another, not wanting to be an owner or operate it as affordable housing, allows the city to step in and issue eminent domain, and then essentially be able to act as an intermediary and pass it on to a new affordable housing operator. So again, these were all 6 strategies that were adopted in that original ordinance. For all 6 strategies, eligibility criteria apply, so all units of the housing must be affordable. When we say affordable, just for to remind you all and for the public's knowledge, that means that, again, no more than 30% of that household's income is being applied toward housing costs. And then when we say low income, we're really referring to households whose household income is not more than 80% of our area median income. So all projects that are benefiting from this declaration, again, are meeting these eligibility criteria. And then as a way to ensure long-term affordability, we are executing a restrictive covenant. That is a 25-year covenant, and it runs with the land. Just a very kind of high-level overview. Again, this was originally passed end of 2024. Staff spent much of 2025 implementing the 6 strategies and sharing news of the declaration with the public and housing developers. And I do want to acknowledge that this work continues. So essentially in our first year, 2025, we have about 538 units that essentially benefited from this declaration. So what you see here is a breakdown of each strategy. I do want to call attention that there's overlapping, right? Like it is very common that the 538 units represent 5 projects, and many of those took advantage of more than one strategy. So, I think all of them were prioritized in the permitting queue. Some spent extra time with our planning staff. Just a general, knowledge that there's overlap here. Also want to acknowledge that this declaration is building off of other affordable housing incentives that have already been in place. So I think all of these projects have other development incentives that they are also benefiting from. So that might be exemptions of impact fees, multifamily tax exemption. So just acknowledging that. A little bit of the fun stuff. Included kind of 2 very different projects here, just for some examples for you all. So the Gibson is you all are probably familiar with this, but this is a adaptive reuse project. This is a private developer, a local developer, 65 units, studios, and 1 bedrooms. Have listed a little bit of what they benefited from in terms of just general incentives and then the emergency declaration strategies. This project will serve households who are 80% or below area median income, and they are in active lease up right now. This other one you all are also probably very familiar with. So the Boulevard Road project is a Habitat for Humanity project. This is 112 townhomes and a neighborhood commercial center. This is home ownership units. They have officially broken ground on phase 1. Yes, so that is 38 homes. Again, Habitat is a nonprofit developer. They are saying 80% or below, but they are really targeting 60% or below area median income. This is occurring on land that we all know is formerly owned by the city, with some public space and access to the LBA woods. And have also, again, they're benefited from other incentives. Next steps. So we, staff, recognize we need to do more education around this declaration as we are bringing on staff and filling roles that have been empty for quite a while. We will have capacity to do that. So education on the declaration will begin in summer 2026, assuming you all extend that declaration tonight. And then identifying additional opportunities, both internally and external partners, to again bring awareness to the declaration, the need for housing, and just the development incentives that the city has in general. And then, of course, evaluating. We're a year in. We have an opportunity now to really start looking at what is working, what could work better, and how to facilitate those process improvements. So what you all have before you tonight is a decision on whether to extend the declaration. It currently expires June 30th of this year. This issue is before the Land Use and Environment Committee, April 23rd, and that committee recommended a 2-year extension, so that would be June 30, 2028. And I am available for questions, should there be any.
Thank you, Jacinda. Are there any questions or comments from council? All right, Councilmember Green.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. Jacinda, thanks for this. Really excited to see that, in just a year, these programs have been utilized. And I know, those participation numbers aren't massive in terms of individual developments, but in a development landscape, I also know there's not that much that happens in a year. So, Have there been other folks who have asked about this, talked about this, been interested in this, that have had sort of a common barrier to it? Like, yeah.
We have not encountered any that have wanted to pursue any of the strategies that we have, that it didn't work or there hasn't been, or it hasn't panned out. We have, because we are sharing this declaration and strategies as well as the other incentives as part of our site plan review committee when projects are kind of in that conceptual phase. Housing staff has started joining those and sharing these, and there have been a few. Sometimes it's kind of, like, we have all the shiny great stuff if you do affordable, but there has been a few projects that are seriously considering or have said, like, I didn't know that you all had this, so that feels really great.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Additional comments? Councilmember Madrone.
I'm curious, Jacinda. Well, first, thanks for all your work on this. This was, something that I think originated from Councilmember Vanderpool over here, who was curious to see how we could get some of these strategies in place. And I know that you and your team worked really hard to bring it to council, and now you're working really hard to implement it, and I appreciate all that. I'm curious if you could just talk a little bit about patterns we're seeing in development of affordable housing. We've seen quite a bit built over the past few years. Not enough to meet the need, obviously. We've got a long ways to go, but I'm just curious how, funding is and other challenges, cost of construction and all of that is impacting what we're seeing in the pipeline.
I could talk a lot about that. I will try to limit. The environment that we are in right now is most definitely impacting how many units we are seeing come online, how quickly those come online, and quite honestly, whether projects make it to the finish line. As we see at the federal level, federal funding, affordable housing projects, especially when we're talking projects that are 60%, targeting 60% or below area median income, are heavily reliant on lots of times federal, state, and local funding. The volatility, I think, at the federal level right now is really hard for developers because not only are they having a hard time attracting funding, but there's not a whole lot of certainty that that funding is going to be available from day to day or year to year. Our projects that target very low income, which really are serving those in our community with the highest needs, are also experiencing a lot of issues with our state funding and tax credits as development costs go up with tariffs and the pricing, what investors are willing to give on the dollar up front for a long-term tax break, essentially, is decreasing. So developers are essentially filling gaps and then seeing new gaps pop up and struggling and chasing new money to fill those gaps. And it's a continuous process. So it's always difficult to build affordable housing. It is especially difficult right now.
Thanks for that update. And I'm sure you could talk plenty more on the subject. Maybe we'll grab coffee sometime. Well, all the more reason for us to extend this declaration here and continue to find all the ways we can support more projects coming forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional comments? If any, seeing none. All right. Well, thank you, Jacinda. Yeah, it is important that we extend the emergency. I can't help but think about the comments that were made earlier during public comment about what we're doing in this space and why we travel certain places to DC and things like that. But I'll just state that one of the reasons we do travel is particularly for this issue. We are lobbying our officials on behalf of the city government to inform our elected representatives that the city of Olympia needs more than 14,000 units of affordable housing by 2045, and we need to stay on track. Yeah, I just wanted to state that because I know it's a little bit of it's a little ironic that now we're acting on this now tonight, and so I just wanted to call attention to that very important fact that this is an issue that we know people are struggling with. We hear from the community that it is a top priority to address affordable living and affordable housing in the city. Certainly this council knows that that is a priority. However, there are many challenges and obstacles in our way as we continue to do that. But things like this, declaring this emergency, helps us locally. I'm proud to support it. And thank you, Jacinda, for your presentation. So with that, I need a motion to approve.
Move to approve on first reading and forward to second reading an ordinance extending a declaration of public health emergency related to insufficient supply of affordable housing.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right. So that takes us to our final business item for tonight, which is item 6B, and it is the approval of recommended park impact fee methodology as required by state law. And we have Laura Keehan, who is the Director of Parks Planning and Maintenance, to kick us off. Hi, Laura.
Hello, good evening. I'm Laura Keehan. I'm the Director of Parks Planning and Maintenance, and I'm here tonight also with John Gillarducci. He's a principal at FCS Group. He'll be joining us online, as well as Luke Nelson. He's a senior analyst with FCS Group. And they have been assisting us with basically looking at our park impact fees due to a state law change that recently occurred that is requiring jurisdictions that collect park impact fees to use a new methodology. And so they'll be describing that methodology and the methodology. And the intent of it at the state legislature was to incentivize smaller sized dwelling units to decrease fees related to park impact fees for those smaller sized units. So I'll be available for any questions after, but I'm going to let our folks at FCS Group take you through the methodology change. Thanks.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Laura. And thank you, Mayor and Council. I hope you can see the PowerPoint screen. Can you? Because I can't. There it is. Okay.
Yep, we see it now.
Thank you. Trying to advance it. Sorry, bear with me for a minute.
Okay.
I'm having trouble advancing these slides.
Okay.
Any tips for me here?
All right. Council, why don't we go ahead and just take a 5-minute recess so we can get the technology figured out, and we'll come on back.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. We'll be back. So at this time, we're going to recess for 5 minutes, and we'll reconvene to continue business with item 6B.
Hi, John. This is Susan Grisham. I'm staff here. What we're going to do is show the slides from here, and if you just let us know when we need to advance it, I will advance the slide. The one thing to know, though, is that you will not be on the screen while we're doing it. The slides will. So once you're done with the presentation, just let us know, and we'll switch it so we could see your face for discussion.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, it's not your fault. Thank you for your patience as we work through these technology issues.
Okay, thanks.
All right. And we still have Councilmember Gilman. I just want to make sure before we come back. Okay, great. All right. Okay, we're going to come on back and continue with John's presentation. John, whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you again. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Thank you, Laura. So I understand we're going to do the slideshow the old-fashioned way. Okay, there it is. Slide, please. The way that we have organized this, I'll spend a little bit of time as on an impact fee refresher. We'll talk about the statutory basis and the reason that we're here tonight, which is to look at a scaling schedule for the park impact fee. And then we have some comparative information for you as well. Slide, please. So some key characteristics of impact fees. These are the one-time fees paid at the time of development by development. So existing development doesn't pay impact fees unless they are redeveloping into a more intense use. By law, they are available in Washington for streets, parks, schools, and fire protection facilities. So tonight we're talking about the park impact fee exclusively. Impact fees are for capital projects only. So we calculate them based on the cost of capital projects and capital construction, and you can only spend the money on capital projects. They include the predominant portion of the impact fee is based on future capital projects, future looking capital projects, but there can also be a component which is a buy into existing infrastructure. So there can be two components, and they are intended to represent a share of park system facilities as opposed to local. Slide, please. So this is just a very brief summary of the RCW as it pertains to impact fees. We know it well. We follow the law. You know, it's a pretty good rule book for us. Slide, please. The language in red here is the reason we're here tonight, and this is language that was introduced in 2023, which essentially requires now that impact fees be scaled such that they are lower fees for smaller dwelling units, presumably higher fees for larger dwelling units. And this came about, based on the sort of collective realization that by applying impact fees uniformly to residential dwelling units, we're basically creating a disincentive to build smaller, lower cost housing, because as a percentage of the cost of that housing, a uniform impact fee is much greater for those lower cost housing types. So they give you three options: to base the scaling on the square footage of the dwelling unit, the number of bedrooms, or trip generation, which is clearly a fit for transportation and not necessarily for parks. Slide, please. There was other language introduced in 2023 that basically requires that impact fees for accessory dwelling units be no more than half of what the fee would be for the principal unit. So the city has already codified this language, and so it's already taken care of in Olympia's code. Slide, please. So this is the current park impact fee schedule in the city of Olympia. For a single family residence, $6,995, and then going down by average occupancy to an accessory dwelling unit fee, $2,991. Slide, please. The first thing that we do is we take those different fees by dwelling unit type and we look at the city's housing stock in order to calculate a weighted average or blended impact fee per dwelling unit. And the result of that calculation is $6,535 and 26 cents. We are then able, using average occupancy per dwelling unit in the city of Olympia and average size per dwelling unit in the city of Olympia, to calculate an impact fee per occupant and an impact fee per square foot. That impact fee per square foot will be the basis of the scaling schedule. It will simply be a dollar amount per square foot. The minimum charge will be that charge, $3,187 and 93 cents. That is the fee by these averages for the amount of square footage to serve one occupant, and that's 813 square feet. So anything up to 813 square feet, any dwelling unit would pay that minimum fee of $3,187.93. The maximum dwelling unit size, which is essentially the ceiling, 3,500 square feet, is based on, we'll show you the data or a graphic in a minute, but that's basically where the correlation between the number of occupants and the size of the dwelling unit levels out. And we can no longer say with confidence that a dwelling unit larger than 3,500 square feet has more occupants than a smaller dwelling unit over that size. So that sets the maximum fee at $13,720, and anything over that 3,500 square feet size would pay that maximum. Slide, please. So just to give you a comparison of how this change would affect new dwelling units of different sizes in the city of Olympia, that 0 to 813 square feet, you see the new rate would be a little bit more. That's intended to represent an accessory dwelling unit. And the blue bar there is the city's current charge for an ADU. So it'd be about the same, a little bit more for an ADU, as long as it was meeting that other condition of being no more than half of the charge to the primary dwelling unit. And then you see for other sizes, 1,200 square feet, the proposed approach would result in a much lower park impact fee than the current, because you see how that's applied uniformly to those different sizes. 1,666 square feet is the average. That would get in the blue bar there, that's the city's charge for a single family residence. The orange is the charge, the weighted average charge. So a little bit less. And then you see for larger dwelling units, the PIF would be higher, up to and above that maximum square footage of 3,500 square feet. A slide, please. So this is the data that I was referencing, and this is something we see. It comes up again and again around the region that correlation flattens out at different points. For the Seattle metro area, which is the closest we have to the city of Olympia, you see at 3,500 square feet, that's about where that correlation flattens out. Slide, please. And this is just a graphic to show how the fee scaling would work. You see the floor and the ceiling here, and then the park impact fee as it goes up in dollars along the y-axis and in square footage along the x-axis. Slide, please. So I mentioned the ADU language. This is already codified in the city's code. And slide, please. So this is some comparative information. Of course, these different impact fees are based on the specific conditions of each of these cities, but we know it's usually of interest to see what other park impact fees look like. So this is Olympia's weighted average current fee. I know that Sammamish and Redmond are both considering, because we're doing the work, park impact fee updates. They will be scaled by square footage. Issaquah and Kirkland have already adopted scaled park impact fees, again by square footage. I'm not sure about Puyallup, Bellingham, Tumwater, and Auburn, meaning I'm not sure where they are in the scaling adoption schedule, but presumably they'll be moving that direction soon. And that is, oh yes, excuse me, next slide. Yeah, so the options as we understand them are for the council to move forward and approve the recommended methodology with scaling by square footage, to request a different basis, such as number of bedrooms or trip generation to review. That's not, those aren't analyses that we've done to date. And then of course, the council could decide not to approve the new methodology. And that's the end of our prepared material.
All right, thank you very much, John. Are there any questions or comments from council? Councilmember Madrone.
Yeah, hi, thanks so much. Could you tell us a little bit about how our impact fees have been calculated before? Like moving to square footage is a new thing, correct?
Yes, they are imposed based on the type of dwelling unit. So a single family residence, regardless of the size, would pay that, I think it was $6,995 per single family dwelling unit. And then those charges go down a little bit by the type of the new dwelling unit, but there's no accounting for the size of the dwelling unit. And so they're applied uniformly by the type of residential dwelling unit. Is that what you're asking? This
that's
move
exactly
would result. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought I remembered. But it's been, a year since we last looked at this. But I'm just really pleased to see this. This is something that I've brought up in the past in terms of kind of inadvertently incentivizing larger houses than are actually needed by our community, because we have a flat rate for single family homes, and if you buy build a small one or build a large one, you're paying the same amount, at least when it comes to impact fees. So just wanted to highlight that. I'm pleased to see this change. I also do want to note in your comparisons chart, impact fees aren't the only types of revenue that cities get from development for parks. And I know that Lacey has some tools in their toolkit. So just want to highlight for my council colleagues that, there's other tools other than impact fees. And so looking at this comparisons chart is useful information, but it's also limited. So it's just different among the different jurisdictions. And I think at one time we even pulled together some kind of table that showed all the different fees charged for development and what they went, at least for our cities in the region, so we could get a good sense of where we stand. And it'd be interesting to pull that information forward. I remember Leonard sharing it at one point, but just in case anybody's interested, I was interested to see that. So, but thanks again for your work. I'm really encouraged to see this change in approach.
Thank you. Councilmember Vanderpool.
I also agree. At first glance, you're like, oh, shouldn't we need bigger buildings? But it's dwelling units, right? I want to specify that for the public, that it means that we're looking at a McMansion versus a multifamily home, right? The rates will be much higher for the McMansion versus a multifamily apartment building or condo or something like that, which is very important because we need to be able to serve more people with more housing rather than very large houses that end up not meeting the needs of the community and family size. I have a question actually, since you're here, and I'm pretty sure state law will tell me no, but I would just ask anyway. Has anyone ever tried to do impact fees towards something like an affordable housing fund?
To provide revenue for
yes,
for an affordable. I don't know of a case where that's been done. The law is pretty restrictive as far as how you can spend impact fee proceeds. So that revenue comes in, and you have to apply that revenue to the list of projects and to the impact fee eligible portion of each of those projects. So I don't think it allows you the flexibility unless you had affordable housing related projects on that list. I don't think it would allow you to spend it that way, and you wouldn't find those on a park impact fee project list. That's my off the cuff answer.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was just conferring with the attorney here that, yeah, state law only allows you to collect impact fees on very specific things. And if it's not outlined in state law, then you can't collect it.
I love preemption.
Additional questions, comments? All right, seeing in here none. Yeah, that's a good question, Councilmember Vanderpool, because when we talk about paying for growth, you would think that would include housing. So, yeah, it's a good question. And Councilmember Madrone, to your point, I think, this particular methodology, I think, is more equitable and, and in the spirit of what we say, how we want to do things here at the City of Olympia. And so I'm happy to support this approach because I just think it's better. Yeah. So are there any additional comments before I ask for a motion? All right. Well, then I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Is that a good enough for a motion for?
No. Okay. So let's try to.
I move to approve the Finance Committee's recommendation of the new park impact fee methodology as required by state law.
All right.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion to approve the recommended park impact fee methodology as required by state law signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. All right. And thank you very much, John. And Luke, you too. Thank you. All right. Okay. And thank you, Laura and Tammy. Thank you. All right, so that concludes council business for tonight. We're going to move on to council reports, and I'll begin with just a brief mayor's report and just quickly share a few wonderful events that I've attended over the last couple of weeks. The Olympia World Affairs Council, which is a group that gets together to be able to raise money to send students who wish to study abroad to various places across the world to be able to do that from here in Olympia. And so it was great to attend that event. Also, the Deschutes Estuary Response Team's Appreciation Dinner. I appreciate being invited and to speak and give remarks there for such an important project, and I had a wonderful time. We also observed Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month in May. And so just a couple weekends ago, we had the celebration event where I also provided remarks and just enjoy spending time in community always, and even getting a little bit of henna on my hand. And also attended Memorial Day at the Capitol and provided remarks as the keynote speaker as well, which I always appreciate the work of the Thurston County Veterans Council for organizing that event. So gratitude to them. I also attended the South Sound Military Community Partnerships Elected Officials Council breakfast. We have those 2 times a year, and so we've been able to resume that after there was a misunderstanding from the Pentagon about local elected officials engaging with federal entities. So we now have resumed those meetings, and it's really eye-opening just to get a sense of the impact that Joint Base Lewis-McChord has on the region. Our Thurston County Commission Chair, Ty Menser, spoke for the first time at this event, and so Thurston County is beginning to build more relationships with this group, given the fact that we do have several service members who live in Thurston County and who serve on Joint Base Lewis-McChord. And so I'm looking forward to us playing a bigger role there, especially now that I'm serving as the chair of the Social Services Working Group for this committee. And I mentioned before that we're working on a resource hub site that we are creating for service members and their families. And then also had a meeting with the Large Cities Advisory Committee with the Association of Washington Cities. So this is our meeting where we discussed the 2027 legislative agenda. I'm happy to report that there was a lot of dialogue around making sure that we continue to call for additional revenue options for cities. This is not just us that's having this conversation. This is several jurisdictions that are a part of this committee who see that as a priority. And so we're asking for that to be a part of the agenda for 2027. It'll move on to AWC's Legislative Priorities Committee, who puts that together. So a little bit of processy, but it was good for us cities to be able to just give a report on the things that are critical to us. In addition to that, I also offered the significance and the importance of continuing to work on homelessness response and wanting to see more action in terms of support for operations and also, for the state to maybe get involved in perhaps operating some sites and declaring an emergency for the state. Which we haven't seen to date. And so those are some things that I also shared in that meeting that remain priorities for us as a council. And then I'm very pleased with the way that we had Mayor for the Day, go down last Friday. And it's thanks to Melissa McKee, our assistant to council, who did such a wonderful job preparing that day, not just for me, but making sure the experience was wonderful for our Mayor for the Day, Harriet Rambo. Who is a sixth grader at Jefferson Middle School. And so it was great to spend the day with her. And at our council meeting at the end of this month, you'll see it on the agenda. We're going to have special recognition where we'll talk a little bit more about what our day was like. And so that's my report for now. And I will start to my left with Councilmember Barrett.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to report on one of my interjurisdictional groups that I belong to. That's the 911 TCOM. I just wanted to report to the council kind of everything they're doing. In the city of Olympia, they reported 54,000 calls for police department last year. I'm talking about 2005. 12,000 calls for EMS in the city of Olympia, and 2,300 calls for fire. They responded to this. One of the good news is, they have revenue that generates that pays for their activities, including a 0.2% sales tax on that is consistent funding, and they also have a cell phone utility tax that they pay for a lot of their activities. I just think it's always important to keep this in front of the public, and I wanted to report that. And Mayor, you have been busy. I just anyway. Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you for noticing. Yes, it's been a very busy few weeks. All right. Any questions or comments for Councilmember Barrett? Okay. Councilmember Green.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to report out on one meeting that was not officially an interjurisdictional committee or commission, but was a really fantastic interjurisdictional group brought together by partially by the Visitor and Convention Bureau, Experience Olympia and Beyond, but partially by our own economic development manager, Jenica Machado, and really a whole group that recently went to a conference together, really focused around how regions can build themselves as a place and tell their story and build their brand. And they really brought together a fantastic group of state folks, county folks, city folks, private sector folks to kind of share out what everybody's takeaways were from that and where they see it going. And it was just a really, I suspect we will see some of their work come forward through some of our collaborations with the Visitor and Convention Bureau or through some of our economic development work. But if anyone's curious about that meeting, I'm happy to share more. But it was a really just a fantastic gathering, and I just want to share some appreciation that they did that, and they brought back so many great reflections on it.
That's great. Any questions or comments for Councilmember Green? Well, thanks for representing. Yeah. All right. Councilmember Gilman.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. I'm going to reserve my interjurisdictional reports for when this cold's gone, but I did want to just briefly say that I'm sorry that you had to endure the comments that disparaged you and your family, and that you and your family are absolutely enough for me and enough for Olympia.
Thank you, Clark. I really appreciate you saying that. Thank you. All right, Councilmember Vanderpool.
All right, so Intercity Transit met since last time. We're still getting feedback on the system changes that has been collected. In the summer, for folks listening, and this is a large issue to them, we're going to be looking at the system-wide data and potential options in the middle of the summer, so that by the fall we will actually be able to make a decision. And so look forward to that, probably around July. I also met some folks from the CNA about our MOU that hasn't been updated in forever, and I hear about every year. I'm going to bring up a couple of points that they made. There's an interest in communication being a major aspect of the MOU and being a two-way street. Whenever we're working on something, finding a way to notify them so that they can pass it on to everyone else that's a member of it, which I very appreciated. And then expanding neighborhoods citywide is also an initiative that they're very interested in, filling in some of those gaps. Some of the parts of our, if you go to the map, there are huge parts of the city where there is no representation. And then I know we may be coming back with a little bit of this at the retreat, I believe, a little bit there. I would be very interested if my councilmates were interested in inviting maybe a couple folks to that item when we talk about it at the retreat, so they can so they can ask us a few questions, because it was really informative for me and Paul to go and chat with them, and then like them asking us questions about what we want in there and vice versa. I felt that was a very good, healthy start to the process of looking in and diving. So then also land use met. We had a very extensive conversation about the sidewalk repair, which is going to be coming to us soon for a study session between city responsibility and hybrid responsibility. What gets fixed first is something of a conversation. Do we serve downtown, main corridors, neighborhoods, equity questions, areas of public transportation, and so on. It was a very extensive conversation. I expect it to be an extensive conversation with us as a council, because it is very important where we start doing this. I'm glad we're doing it, but I guess, once you finally get it, it's like, where do you start first, right? Where are the needs? And so that, just to kind of cue you up for that conversation coming forward. We also got a legislative update around affordable housing. There was a whole bunch of really cool items that got passed this year. And so some of them were like limiting investors from buying single family homes, which I thought was fascinating, so that there's a limit on how much a private equity firm could buy in housing, which is a very interesting item. And then there was other items around creating not a public developer, more entity framework. It was in there. So if any folks want an extensive look at that, it's in our council slides and documents from our last land use meeting. But if you're interested in any particular things, let me know. And then it was Joyce's last meeting on land use, and she came with 47 code amendments, which had been building up over the last few years. And the reason why it's 47 is because, as we were doing our comprehensive plan and we were very busy, there was all of these code amendments that were accumulating, and changes that were coming. And so that's also going to be coming to us soon. I am going to talk about a couple other things that are outside of council related. We got an email this afternoon, and I've had a few people reach out to me about this. I mentioned this at our last council meeting, that Tumwater is, through our climate collaborative, they mentioned that they're interested in creating code around data centers and their zoning, that they're pursuing this into their zoning code. I would be very interested in copying Tumwater's homework on this and seeing what we can do to protect the city from, all of a sudden we get a big data center that's running up the power and, polluting the water and causing all these problems. I'd be very interested in seeing what Tumwater's doing there. Also, on Saturday, I went to a capstone at Evergreen State College. Someone had, Austin Hayes did a community asset inventory of our county, our cities. This is different than your typical housing inventory. This kind of looks at what affordable housing assets do we have currently, and what do we need into the future. And it looked at community needs, all of our various codes that we've done, our policies like the one we just renewed tonight. But he's also interested in expanding that into cultural and human and social. He's already currently in his study, he looked at natural assets and political assets, and just what have we done up to this point around affordable housing. But he's going to continue to work on that, and he has created a website for it if anyone would be interested in checking that out. It's olthousinghub.org. And I told him if he wants to keep working on it and needs any resources, just to reach out, because I would be very interested in seeing what he comes up with. So that's my thing.
Thanks. Any questions or comments for Councilmember Vanderpool? Just a couple things. One, I'd be interested in hearing more about the data center ordinance that you mentioned from Tumwater. I saw Jay taking notes, so we'll follow up on that. And then this your inquiry to us about the retreat and having community members. Yeah, let's just talk more about that. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Councilmember Madrone.
Yeah, I'm curious about the data center ordinance also, and if there's an actual real threat to Tumwater that a data center could move in there. But one of the things I do want to make sure we're cautious about with things like this, I just saw an article, I think it was in the Seattle Times today, about people not wanting energy storage near them, and the same thing with data centers. We all use data, we all use energy, and when we say no, it ends up in other communities that don't have the same ability to advocate for themselves, or there's Paul knows what I'm talking about, but there's a challenge when we say no here for the things we need. There tends to be impacts in other communities because that need is still there. So if this is a conversation we're going to have, and I don't think we're really at risk of data centers where we're at here, I just hope we have a holistic look at issues like that.
Great point. Go ahead, Councilmember Vanderpool.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because the other policy that they're working on is around battery storage zoning, allowing that. So they are looking at allowing battery storage, but also prohibiting AI data centers. So it is I don't know what aspect of zoning they're looking at, if it's the size of the building, if it's the power draw. I'd be very curious to see what exactly they're coming up with. But I'll be interested in taking a look at it as they do it.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Madrone.
So Community Livability and Public Safety Committee met last week. We had a nice long meeting. We talked about council advisory bodies, and we have moved forward a recommendation to council. We evaluated two options. One was improving on our current system. That's the option we're moving to. The other option was kind of like rethinking everything entirely, aligning things around our focus areas of our comp plan and priority-based budgeting, which sounds really, really interesting, but also as a committee, we kind of talked about, not throwing everything out at once and making incremental progress in this area. So some of the things that will be coming to the full council in July at a study session, looking at things like shifting the recruitment timeline for advisory bodies so it lines up better with when we're doing work plans, they're doing work plans, aligning work plans so that what they're doing can be informed by what we're doing. Right now, things are a little bit backwards in terms of how work plans are developed. Splitting recruitment over 2 years, so we're not doing all the interviews in 1 year. It's a lot, which would ultimately need a change to the term length so that it's an even number. And then also restructuring some of our advisory bodies. We did approve staff and moving forward. They identified 4 advisory bodies that they did this evaluation process with everything we had, what's required in state law, and what are the ones we have to have, which ones are serving a critical function that can't be done any other way. And then where are others where they're maybe there's some duplication of topics going on, or people aren't super engaged and missing a lot of meetings, things like that. And so they've identified design review board with a potential for that to be able to go to an administrative process. Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, a potential to join up with the Planning Commission, Social Justice and Equity Commission, kind of reevaluating that body since we created it recently and thought it might have a different purpose and then learned that that purpose couldn't happen. Like, are we still achieving the original intent, and are there other ways that we could work on that? It might involve like different scopes, different types of meetings, doing community collaborating, things like that. And then also the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee to kind of look into if there's a way to join that up with OMPD or other opportunities and like, bringing together a group of stakeholders around specific planning for different parks. So those are areas where staff are still exploring. This will come to a study session for the full council in July. And there's been engagement done with the Social Justice and Equity Commission, the chairs of all of our advisory bodies, and also a survey of folks who serve on our advisory body. So all that work that staff have been doing for a while now will be coming forward to us with a recommendation from CLIPS, knowing that staff are going to be refining some of the things that we discussed on the way to the full council. We also had a split vote on the Inspire Olympia funding, and not necessarily a dissatisfaction with the final numbers there, but just generally feeling like there needed to be a bit more information to be able to make a decision on that. And also, it seems like it's time to check in on our process and criteria around Inspire funding. It's a new program for the city, so doing that adaptive management, there were a few concerns raised, not enough for 2 of the 3 of us to not feel like it shouldn't be moved forward to the full council. But obviously there's some bigger conversations we need to have. And so one thing that we discussed is having, we'll hear from the full council soon enough, later this month, on recommendations for the funding that are coming from community livability and public safety, but also our Cultural Access Advisory Board. There'll be a recommendation on funding with more information, project summaries and, requested amounts and recommended amounts, things like that. But also, I'll be curious to hear from you all in that conversation, how you think things are going, things that you might want to change about the process and criteria. Ultimately, I think that in order to have a process where, we have people helping to develop recommendations. We're trying to remove bias from the process. I think the best role of council is for us to feel really good about the process and the criteria and let the people that we appoint to support us in this, support us in it. But that requires us to be checking in on the process and making sure we still feel good about it. So more to come on that. And then finally, CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, that will be coming forward to us later this month as well. Our staff have been working diligently in arena with a lot of uncertainty around federal funding to make sure that we're still getting money to organizations that are doing really good work in our community. It has led to some difficult decision making, and that will come forward. We'll have to do a public hearing on that, so I won't go into detail there. But also, they're also looking, and CLIPS has recommended sunsetting the rental housing loan program for people to be able to do improvements, largely because of the significant amount of staff capacity to be able to do those kinds of projects and just general lack of interest. So all that will be coming forward to us, but there's a preview for you. That's my report.
All right, questions or comments for Councilmember Madrone? Just thank you for taking a bite of the apple on that work of the advisory committee's restructuring. It's our process is pretty dense and very, very challenging, I think, year after year. I'm just curious, though, about, have we connected with other cities on how they do their processes? I know not every city has necessarily all the boards, commissions, and committees we have, but.
Yeah, actually, the consultant that the city's been working with, Genevieve Chan, reached out to some other cities to kind of be like, how do you engage your community? And that will be in the report that comes as part of our packet with the study session. So you'll get to see the kind of research that she's done.
Okay, great. Okay. I'm like, there's no way. We can't be the only ones dealing with this, or the first ones too. All right, thank you. City Manager Bernie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing to report.
All right, thank you. Well, with that, Happy Pride Month, Olympia. And with no further business before the Olympia City Council, we're adjourned.